The Blackhawks yesterday were fined $2 million for not following their own policies. That's by the NHL. I want to put that into context. The Devils were fined $3 million and draft picks for Kovalchuk's bad contract. Now, I'm going to stop there because there is more. But let's go through this again. I wanted to give you the basics because I wanted you all to know where we're going. So everything I told you, we're going to start from the beginning again.
Yep.
And we're going to break each piece down.
Sure.
So Stan Bowman stepped down as the general manager of Blackhawks and USA Hockey after the investigation results. And by the way, we'll link to it. Sportsnet's got the entire 17-minute clip of the Wirtz family, Danny and Rocky, and of course,
Shar.
Shar of Jenner and Shar speaking on camera about this.
Jenner and Block, the
Jenner Block,
representative is the partner is
Shar. Excuse me. So we'll link to that so that you can see it because it's important that you see it. And actually, I was shocked yesterday by how few people had seen it. And shocked this morning by how few people had seen it. 17 minutes.
Press conference?
Yeah. I mean, you guys must have watched it live. I didn't get the chance to watch it live, but I watched it later. And full disclosure, my girlfriend's a lawyer, so I wanted to watch it with her. And so it was one of those where you sit there and Steve was texting during it, and I was on a business call and going like pulling my hair out. God, I like, how can I be missing this?
Sorry, bro.
So it's okay. And Steve, you said it was riveting in the worst way.
I said it was explosive. And what Rick Westhead, watching him on TV, and I suppose we'll get to him later, and also Friday. He said he was at a loss for words because I think we all sort of expected the worst. We didn't have the most optimism for what this investigation would yield. We thought it would be probably unsatisfactory. There wouldn't be that many answers. And the reason I was saying it was explosive is I was like, oh my God, it confirms everything. Everything. And not in a million years did I think that was going to happen.
So we'll start with Stan Bowman, who has been at the center of this as I think as a public-facing person in power, frankly. Probably the most notable of all the names that were mentioned in upper management. John McDonough had a lot of power back then when he was still with the Blackhawks, and I believe was run out of the organization last year because of some political infighting. He was fired under odd circumstances, but I don't believe it had anything to do with this. At least I've never read that it did.
Not outwardly.
Stan Bowman was given the opportunity to, after the allegations came out in May, given the opportunity to run an NHL franchise. Now, one did make the playoffs, but he got to do the draft. He got to do free agency. He got to make trades. He got to take them all the way through training camp.
He got to make the team's first pick, 32nd overall, with a bunch of women behind him, essentially as a shield.
Oh, that's right.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Here, I'll send you the picture just so you can.
No, we've done it.
Yeah?
Like
Okay.
we sat here during the summer and I called it disgusting and it was performative and it was gross.
And a lot of people missed it because
Holy
it was the
shit.
pick after Logan Mayhew.
So let one more time for anybody that hasn't seen it. Stan Bowman this summer walked up to the podium with the 32nd overall pick, surrounded by probably 8 women.
I think it was 8. Yeah.
From the organization.
And it's not that you shouldn't invite women onto the stage. Of course you should. And that's under normal circumstances a wonderful idea, but it felt very performative at the time. And forget that the gesture seemed performative. It shouldn't have been Stan Bowman on that stage at all, given the circumstances.
Yeah, because all of the allegations that come out and the PR team was like, okay, what can we do here, Stan? What can we do to fix your image? And they threw him up there with 9 other women, and it was gross.
That's the thought.
Yeah.
So, and it's unfortunate because I feel like they were used, right? The people on there.
Yeah, it's not even like that's exactly what happened. They were trying to skirt the allegations by making his image better, and that's what he did. He walked up there.
Now, he was given the opportunity to step down, and I tweeted about this yesterday. There's a lot of people who were on me about the fact that, well, somebody said, calm down, social justice warrior. He only stepped down so they wouldn't have to pay him. And I have to be honest with you.
What?
So I guess the whole thing is that if you let someone go, you have to pay severance. But I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this term, dismissal with cause, which I believe this falls under because that's dereliction of duty.
Yeah.
And I spoke, and I this is how much I wanted to make sure this was the case. I spoke to another lawyer who's an employment lawyer, and I said, so let me just get this straight. If somebody was fired, whatever, she did tell me that, you can go back and sue somebody, but she's like, in this particular case, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, and also, isn't that not even necessarily true, because Brad Aldrich was also asked to resign, basically, right, and received $35,000 compensation, $20,000 of which was, I guess, a departure, whatever you call it, and he got his severance. Thank you, and he got his $15,000 playoff bonus.
Yes. So just so we're clear on this, Stan Bowman able to do all of that, able to announce 3 of the players. I think it was Kane, Matthews, and whoever else. Seth Jones. Ooh. Seth Jones for
be regretting that pick.
The USA Olympic roster. He was allowed to do all that, and they knew this was coming. Neither organization put him on administrative leave. Because here's the thing: I get not wanting to make a move until the results are out. I get it. Completely understand that. You don't want to fire somebody and then find out from a legal perspective. You don't want to fire somebody, find out that they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, these things take longer than any of us would like.
But you can put somebody on administrative leave. Neither USA Hockey, the USA Olympic Committee, nor the Chicago Blackhawks or the NHL, for that matter, stepped in and did that. So that's interesting to me. Both of them got the step aside, mutually agree. Senior VP of Hockey Ops, Al McIsaac, also a part of that meeting. Again, allowed to step aside or step down.
And he personally handed the Stanley Cup ring to Brad Aldrich.
I didn't know that detail.
Oh, yeah.
So Brad Aldrich allowed to resign. So here's how they framed it. So when this was all reported, and it finally did make it to HR 3 weeks after it should have, they took Brad Aldrich in and they said, listen, you got a choice here. Yeah. You can resign, or, and this is the interesting part, or we'll just do an investigation and we'll find out what happened. So he resigned, took his severance, and from what I understand, there was a letter of recommendation.
Which was weirdly destroyed, and no lawyers could find it.
Right.
Aldrich, go ahead.
No, you say it.
Aldrich's file couldn't be found by the Jenner and Block lawyers, even though employers from that time period had their files intact. Aldrich's was surprisingly it disappeared.
How did that happen?
I don't know how it happened.
I don't know if we have the language in front of us, but I thought the language used by Jenner and Block when they pointed that out was very interesting, because they, in very subtle lawyer speak, were like, we don't know what the fuck is up with this.
Because, when they made that statement, the following sentence was that other employees, we had their records, but not Aldrich's.
And just to confirm what I said a moment ago to Adam, Mike Stevens, who did read the 107-page report,
he was unbelievable
in its
last
entirety
night.
Yesterday.
Mikey Stevens, 81, follow him.
Yeah, he also wrote an article for Sports Illustrated / The Hockey News yesterday. According to the report, Brad Aldrich attended the Blackhawks banner-raising ceremony the next season on October 9th, 2010, and was personally handed his Stanley Cup ring by Al McIsaac. If you see me on my phone a lot, that's what I'm doing.
That's fine. In the press conference yesterday, and this is my notes, Rocky and Danny Wirtz made clear that they were unaware of any wrongdoing. Fine. Jenner and Block seemed to confirm that. Fine. They did mention that the accounts of what happened between John Doe 1 and Brad Aldrich varied wildly. They did mention that the accounts of the meeting between Blackhawks senior management, McDonough, Bowman, Quinville, Shovel-Dayoff, and others varied wildly, but they had independent sources who were there who said, well, actually, this is what happened. And I thought it was quite interesting because, John McDonough here, Stan Bowman deserves his shit, and we'll get to him.
Okay, we're getting back, because we should also get to his statement.
We will for sure. That's exactly where I'm headed.
Okay.
There's a few statements you can wipe your ass with.
McDonough basically said, I'll handle this. At least that's according to what the investigation found. And then waited 3 weeks so the Hawks could win the cup, or at least have a shot at it. Yeah. Now, and this is, Jesse, exactly where we wanted to go. Stan Bowman did release a statement. I'm going to read the statement, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. Since joining the Blackhawks in 2000, I've been extremely grateful for the opportunities presented to me. This organization, beginning with the Wirtz family, has been extraordinary to me and my family. That's why today, after discussions with Rocky and Danny, I've decided to step aside. The team needs to focus on its future, and my continued participation would be a distraction. I think too much of this organization to let that happen. Now, that's baseline PR. You're always going to do that. This is where I really want you to pay attention. 11 years ago, while serving in my first year as general manager, I was made aware of potential inappropriate behavior by a then video coach involving a player. I promptly reported that matter to the then president and CEO, who committed to handling the matter. I learned this year that the inappropriate behavior involved a serious allegation of sexual assault.
Yeah, that part caught my eye.
So he is saying, I was made aware of a potential inappropriate behavior. I reported it, but I didn't know it was sexual assault until the lawsuit was filed this year.
So that's part of the reason why I asked you to distinguish who was who earlier.
Okay.
Because Paul Vincent, who is
the skating coach,
a skating coach and largely a hero in all this, because John Doe 1 approached him, he relayed a condensed version of the story. So when I heard you say that, I went, oh, maybe Stan's telling the truth. Maybe he didn't know the full thing. Maybe he didn't know sexual assault. But
the performance coach knew, and he reported it.
Yeah.
So
that's where it falls apart.
Yeah. He said, I relied on the direction of my superior that he would take appropriate action. Looking back, now knowing that he did not handle the matter promptly, I regret assuming he would do so. Now, there's a couple things that I think
he really does throw him all the way under the bus.
I have to look something up here, and I meant to look this up this morning. I want to apologize.
There's 1,000 things, bro.
So he,
who's he?
Stan Bowman, was promoted. This is important. Mm-hmm. Stan Bowman on December 16th, 2020, was promoted to president of hockey ops, or hockey operations, to make that more stark. The move came after the Blackhawks fired John McDonough in April and delegated his responsibilities between Bowman and Jamie Faulkner, who was hired as the president of business operations. Why is that important? You have to understand that in these boardrooms, there is always some degree of politicking and backbiting. John McDonough and Stan Bowman, from what I understand, didn't always have the best of relationships. And very clearly from this press release, Stan Bowman is saying, see, I told you this guy was a dick. And I'm now taking the fall for it. Now, also important in these sentences, 11 years ago, while serving in my first year as general manager.
Yeah, he said that, and I believe so did Danny Wirtz. And it paints him like a child. Mm-hmm. He was, I don't know the exact months involved, but he was roughly a 38-year-old man who is the son of Scotty Bowman.
Who was in the league for 50 years.
And they make it sound like he's a dude they hired after he did a very good job on Take Your Kid to Work Day, which is just not.
He infantilizes himself.
Yeah, he's also an adult human who heard about a sexual assault and then left it.
Yeah,
that's probably the issue here.
They're trying to appeal to, well, like, I mean, we've all made mistakes like early in a job, right?
Not like this.
Well, this is the thing, right?
So at very least here, he wasn't ready to be GM.
Oh, at very least.
At the very, very least, you are not qualified. Very least. But again, the political backbiting shit makes its way into the PR. I don't give a fuck about Stan Bowman and John McDonough's rivalry. But Stan seems to think that the world does. Stan had an opportunity here to say, I cooperated with the investigation. I regret my decision and my inaction. I apologize to the player and the intern and the other player and all the other people affected afterwards when Aldridge moved on and actually went to jail for assault on a minor.
Yeah, nowhere in this statement is an apology for anything.
He says, looking back, knowing that John McDonough, didn't handle the matter promptly, I regret assuming he would do so. I'm confident that this organization, the Wirtz family, will continue to do what it takes to win championships with integrity and with the goal of doing what is right. So here's the problem with that sentence for me. What the Blackhawks' sole focus should be is getting it right off the ice right now. Fuck your championships. I don't care about your championships. I care about integrity and goal of doing what is right. And by the way, the goal of doing what is right, I mean, come on, guys. The goal? Just do it. Is it hard? And let me ask you this. How old were you when you found out sexual assault was bad and should be reported?
Younger than 38.
Right. So if you're the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks and this happens at the end of the third round, and your superior says, even if this is true, by the way, because we haven't heard from John McDonough and we don't know if this is necessarily how the events went, but even if this event was true, would you not?
That's going to come down today. I didn't even think about that.
Because John McDonough has got to make a statement here too. You think?
Well, I would want to if I was him. He looks like the main culprit.
He does,
right?
Mm-hmm. But if you're Stan Bowman, John McDonough does look like the main culprit.
What is John McDonough doing now?
I don't believe he's doing anything right now.
Okay. In terms of people in the organization who ignored it, he is painted as top guy.
He might not have like a public profile enough to care to put out a statement.
Well, I was sort of thinking about that on the way here. Like, no one cares who the president of your hockey team is. Like, I think Berkey is maybe an exception to the rule, and Shanahan's got some clout here. But for the most part, it's the GMs who are the stars, and that's why guys like John are able to sort of hide in the shadows a bit.
But here's the problem. If you're Stan Bowman and it's your first year as GM and you're 38 years old and one of your players is sexually assaulted, although Stan claims he didn't know, although the report says he did, if there was some impropriety, would you not follow up with your superior on that and say, hey, how's that going? You're telling me you'd never talk about it again?
You'd think so.
I have a hard time with that.
I agree.
That may be true. I don't think it's true. It may be true. I have a hard time believing it's true.
The Wirtzes were relatively gracious with Stan Bowman yesterday on his way out and everything, and I have a theory about that. I think he sang like a bird, which in this case is the right thing to do. My theory is he cooperated with the investigation fully.
Sounds like he did.
Sure sounds like he did, which is the right thing to do. Again, I don't think this investigation could have gone the way it did if at least someone in the organization who knew about everything, if they didn't cooperate. But at the end of the day, what he did was extremely wrong.